Hi, I'm Denise Gustavson, editor for Wide Format Imaging magazine. I have with me today JR Kraft, the owner and co-founder of Build a Sign based in Austin, Texas. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you doing this morning?
Fantastic. Great to be here with you.
We're here on the last day of ISA.
That's right.
And chatting a little bit about business and industry trends. So first question is, how's business? Have you seen any rebound with the economy?
I don't know about everybody else, but I'm doing great.
Just fantastic.
Yeah, we're really excited. We've had exponential growth, growing. I think we've added another 50 people to our staff this year. So yeah, things are good for us.
That's fantastic. Now, whether it's about your business specifically or the industry in general, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that's facing us right now in the signage industry?
Well, I think there's a lot of excess capacity and too many players in the market. I think there's going to be a consolidation.
Has that consolidation started?
It has in some ways, but mostly from the standpoint of weaker players are getting into a lot of trouble financially. And sometimes there's just situations where because of the economy, you can't make a smaller mistake and recover quickly. And so you end up getting into trouble, and then it comes to another problem and another problem.
And it just snowballs at that point.
It snowballs, and it's unfortunate. So there's a lot of great talent in the market, and then there's sometimes these business decisions that have taken into place, or a customer will default, and then you get into trouble. So there's a lot of different ways that people are getting into trouble financially these days. And they're reaching out to some of the larger players to help them, and some of these larger players, including my business, are doing bolt-on acquisitions and bringing people into the fold. And that's one of the ways that we've been growing. That's I think the first sign of consolidation in the market is some people kind of losing the financial power they once had.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately something that's happening across the board, I think in a lot of different industries. Now, moving a little bit onto technology, there's a lot of technology here on the show floor today. What do you think are some of the major innovations or technologies that are going to help to actually grow the industry and move it to the next stage of the industry?
Well, I mean, looking here at the floor, I'm not seeing. There's not a lot of releases that come out here at the American shows. Most of the releases of new technology are done at the European shows. I'm trying to think. I mean, most of the innovation I see that's going to actually help people is going to be on the software side, and it's going to be in the full integration of solutions and things like that. There's nothing really specifically that's kind of coming out into my mind as like game-changing or going to save people's lives. I think what it is, it's about focus and communication. So I think that the more people can be paying attention to the publications and to their associations where the answers are, the better off they're going to be. I think that right now it's a mental shift more than a technology shift that's actually going to save the day or help businesses grow. It's just that awareness that's actually making such a difference. I know in my business, we build our own technology, but I think it's a different type of thought process and focus that's going to make the change. The technology, as I'm seeing it, is pretty much kind of the same with small improvements, incremental changes.
Yeah, some people have mentioned that it's not revolutionary changes, but it's more evolutionary. Things are being tweaked, you're getting upgraded. It's not really brand new platforms. Nothing that's really.
I mean, yeah. If you look, my company particularly looks at what I call the big iron, and from a big iron standpoint, you're just seeing small changes. You're seeing prices drop. You're seeing them kind of consult on rips and inks and things like that. And those platforms are improving and they're looking stronger. But at this point, there's not a lot of game changers. I know that there's some new products that are going to be released at FESPA Digital and some of the European shows, but for the most part, I'm seeing more of the same.
Okay, that's fine. That's fair enough. Now, turning our attention a little bit to sustainability, which has been a big topic in the industry, and we see some people are jumping on board, some are hanging back. What are some of the challenges facing companies that are looking to be more sustainable? What would you think?
Well, I think there's a lot of there's a big transition from being a printer of solvent goods, a screen printer, to being green or pretending that you're green. And I think that's one of the things that in Europe, they have a lot of focus on being green, and they have a lot of legislation that forces you to be green, and that kind of helps you learn. Here in the United States, there's no legislation, except in California, maybe in certain areas. There's some, kind of OSHA regulations that kind of make you be, not a horrible person or a horrible company, but since the recent economic situation, the market hasn't been demanding as much. The higher tier customers have been saying, no PVC or things like that, make it more biodegradable. It'd be nice to be green, all that kind of stuff. But it's not a selling point for them where it's like, hey, all of our signage was made to be green. I see it as an interesting challenge. There's a lot of learning that needs to be done. I don't think the market is going to self-regulate into a green process or a green programs. I think that SUP and there's printers out there that are doing some really solid things, but for the most part, I'm not seeing much of a movement. I think a lot of people are talking about it because it's something to talk about.
Yes.
But as far as a major force in the market, I'm not seeing that yet. There's green products out there and they're green, but maybe people are buying them more for the look than they are for the function. So I'm seeing things happen, but I think it's going to be a very, very slow process. I wouldn't expect to see major industry change unless legislation forces the market to change for the next 5 to 7.
Okay. Next, looking ahead a little bit, where do you see biggest growth opportunities for the market, maybe in the next 12 to 18 months?
I think the biggest thing for people to consider is where they're at today, product suites that they've never actually thought about offering. I don't know who your customers are, but if you're willing to send me your customer list, please do. JR Kraft, buildsite.com. But each person's customer base, you have to find out what your customer's buying, and I think it's more about relationship management than it is about actual product suite. You're a printer, you're a broker, you're a solutions provider, moving more towards that and saying yes to selling new products, I think is where it's at. I think that there's some hot areas inside of dye sub. I think fabrics are very exciting. I think the commercial and home decor space is heating up, but there's a lot of strong players in those spaces. So you really have to consider who you're competing against in different areas. Can you find a major advantage?
And what your own market strengths are.
Absolutely, and are you wasting your time? Don't just try and go make a canvas business because you heard it's exciting and attractive and your wife wants one. It's definitely not a category for the faint of heart. There's a lot of areas out there where there's opportunity, but I think it's more about that business analysis for you.
Do your research.
And I would have to say that one of the biggest things is come to these events like ISA, FESPA, SGIA, come to the events and talk to your peers. That's the most valuable thing that happens here at these shows, is you talk to your peers, you find out what they're doing, and you kind of get a gauge of where you might be able to go. Tell them what you think you might want to do, and they're going to honestly tell you what the challenges are and how difficult that is. Or seek me out and I'll talk to you about it specifically.
Just good to know. Just look for JR.
Always
He's just about
available.
everywhere.
Yeah.
Last question. As a business owner, what's the one challenge or issue that keeps you up at night?
I think the thing that keeps me up at night is, where to go next. We have a relatively large company now, and so from that standpoint, we've got a constant engine moving forward into, new areas, product lines, all that kind of stuff. And so what keeps me up at night is what's next, and am I making the right spending decisions? You get to a point in your business where whatever your size or whatever your burn rate is, that's the thing that kind of gets at you. Did I make the right decision for that amount of spend? And so it's a balance there. It keeps me up at night, but it keeps me warm at night too.
Keeps you looking forward
Nice.
and
Yeah,
doing everything.
yeah. It's an exciting time in our industry. You just have to be vigilant and very aware of what the trends and movements are.
Okay, great. JR, it's a pleasure. Thank you again for joining me
Always
today.
great to see you.
Thanks again.